back to the channel. So, as the title said, today guys, we're talking about things we should be not neglecting as a prepper, or things we should not be doing as a prepper. There is a lot of things going on again in the world, and it's only seems to be getting worse. So I wanted to bring this video to your guys' attention because I think it's not really covered a lot. Yes, we're all talking about buying this and buying that, but part is a prepping thing. This is such a little part of the prepping. So anyway, without further ado, let's go through my list briefly for the things you should not be neglecting as a prepper. So guys, number one is do not neglect your mental health. It is so difficult. I totally get you. You put on the news, you read the news, you look at the YouTube, we all constantly bombarded with the same stuff time and time again. And yes, unfortunately, however much certain things are exaggerated, things are not getting better. And it is literally that obvious to see that things are only progressing or heading into one direction, and things are gonna go and get a little bit tougher, or quite a bit tougher. So the point is, do not neglect your mental health. I always say, guys, you need to take a little bit of a time out, okay? If you feel those things are getting a little bit on the top, take a step back. Stop watching those YouTube videos, stop reading the news, stop watching the news, just take a step back and make sure you give yourself a little bit of time to mentally recoup. Because you will be surprised, guys, that whole your mental attitude, if you suddenly go into the place where you're not the place you should be at, let's put it that way, okay? Your prepping journey will be coming to an end because you're not going to be making the right decisions. So number two, guys, is do not ignore the financial preparedness. And again, it's a very difficult one, and it's kind of a broad one, because as a prepper, we know potentially the things are heading to a, say, cashless society and this and that. And some people invest into the gold, silver, whatever some people feel fit that that's what they want to do. This is absolutely fine. But the point is as well, yes, don't neglect it. If you think so, you don't need to basically have a bit of cash because, well, you think things are going to go to one direction or whatever. Make sure, guys, you do have a backup plan. I do still suggest, even though people are saying that yes, banks will be collapsing, there will be cashless society, it's still going to take a little while. And I still suggest for even the current scenarios, guys, because depends, of course, what you're prepping for, guys, but the things can happen, many different things can happen in your life. To be financially prepared and have your options is really important. So I still think like having a little bit of savings in the bank, and then have a little bit of savings in cash. If you invested in the gold, then have some gold. If you did like cryptocurrency, invest in the cryptocurrency. We chose the cryptocurrency years back, and it's a bit iffy, as you do anyway. I'm not giving anybody any advice on where to invest what you have. However, the point is just don't neglect your financial preparedness. Next thing, guys, number three is lack of training. It is absolutely great to be able to have all the things in the world, but I mean all the prepping things do you have, but learn how to use them, okay? It's time and time again, guys, having things that you have, your even camping stove or something else, and just understand how to use it. It might be simple enough, but if you never used it, when the Shtf happens and you need to use it like right now, then you need to know how to use it. And I'm not just talking about your stove, guys. I'm talking about any other preparedness item or self-defense items if you're having or stockpiling. Just make sure you actually know how to use it, and make sure you know how to store them properly as well. Next one is, guys, is failure to rotate the supplies. And we're not just talking about the food, but predominantly we are talking about food. Make sure that you rotate your supplies, okay? Whether it's your tins or your dry goods for the medium-term storage, make sure the rotation is a key. It will stop your food spoiling. If you have your long-term storage, of course, we don't touch that. It sits in the Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. That's absolutely fine. But with anything else, guys, rotate your stuff and have your know what you have, just to make sure you don't run out of something. I've been caught out before. If you watch the channel, I did this with the batteries. Batteries are super important, but for some reason we just run out of AA's. So I'm like, uh-oh, that's a big deal. For a prepper, it's a big deal because, well, you can't be running out of things. That's the whole point. So yeah, just make sure that you rotate the stuff and make sure you have your inventory so you know exactly what you have and where you have it. Next thing, guys, on the list is don't be rigid in your mindset, okay? Just make sure you're flexible and actually understand, because I know some preppers are solely preparing for one thing alone. However, there could be other things that are happening, but I'm sure you got to understand, okay? If you choose to prepare for, say, the end of the world, you pretty much covered it all, I would imagine. However, if you're only preparing for one thing, just kind of bear this in mind and trying to read the current situation, what is happening outside, and actually try to say, do you know what, let's be a little bit more adaptable, because some people are just set in our ways, right, in their ways, and some people are just thinking, well, this is exactly, I'm just thinking that society gonna collapse, and this is what I'm preparing for, okay, and that's that. But at the same time, it still could be things in between that will be happening. So I think it's very important to be a little bit flexible and understanding. I think, do you know what, society might collapse, and chances are it probably will collapse at some point, but it might still be another, say, good few years between that, and a few other little things that could be happening in between that you should be prepared for. Next one, guys, is don't neglect your bag out plan, okay? I always said that, right? I much rather, because considering your prep and you have your things in the house, okay? So our motto is like, I'm gonna stick around in the house and protect the house and make sure that obviously we keep everything that we worked so hard for. However, it is not always be possible. Again, it's all depending on the current situation at what exactly it's happening, but there's a possibility you might literally have no choice as to leave your house. And it's so important, guys. You have to have your bag as well, bag out bag, and you have to have a plan where to go, guys, be it a family or bunk in the forest if you have one, or just place to go. But it's really, really important, just don't neglect it. Make sure that all your members of your family know if something happens and you can't get in touch with somebody, have your secret place there where you can meet together, so you know if something happens, you know that everybody knows that they'll get there or try to get to that location within a certain amount of time. So yes, point is, do not neglect your bag out plan, even if you're not intending to bag out. Next thing, guys, is avoid obsessive behavior. Again, it kind of comes a little bit with the part number one, with the first thing, that when you get slightly obsessed, if you watch too much of horrible news out there, it's only natural that I think that some of us will be in a predisposition to get a little bit obsessed over a certain thing, and you might want to sort of, you know, keep an eye on this news of that specific case potentially on every day. But I think that when you suddenly become obsessed with that, you kind of lose a little bit of track of not just the imminent thing that's happening outside you, but potentially you just, again, you're not looking at things clearly, you're not making the right decision, because just obsessing with one thing, it takes your mind away from all the other important things you could be doing. So the point is, guys, just don't obsess. Again, if you need to, just take a step back and look at the things clearly. Next thing, one is excessive hoarding rather than strategic stocking up. Again, many people confuse that, and I think that all the preppers were just hoarding stuff, but it's not. It's not. Majority of the, if you're a true prepper, guys, you know exactly why you're buying and why you're buying this. And the only reason certain things you might hoard, if I can call it hoarding, is the stuff you know that will never go out of date, and you know you're going to use this, and you know you're going to rotate that. So this is, to me, is a strategic stockpiling rather than hoarding. Hoarding, as I mentioned before, is something if you just suddenly, you know, if you don't eat, I put the rice as an example, if you don't eat rice, or none of your family eat rice or can't eat rice for whatever reason, and then you suddenly go and you hoard yourself like a ton of rice, literally, but you know you're not going to eat it, and you know your family can't eat it, then it's just pointless. This is called hoarding. Hoarding is having unnecessary items that you keep in your house that you will never use. Strategical stocking up is when you're stocking up on something you know you're going to use and you're going to rotate, so don't confuse those two. And the last one, again, that be slightly controversial ones, is the community. Many preppers suggest that you join a community in terms of create a community of preppers in your area, that if things go wrong, you know who's who and who's doing what. I am totally dead against that. I believe, and I'm going to be one of those, like, not say solo preppers, guys, because I'm all over the internet, but the point is, as in a community, nobody knows yet that what I do, this is what I do. However, when many people say, oh yeah, you have to create the group, so you know somebody will stockpile this and somebody stockpile this and you'll have shared access. No, because when the shit gets really tough, good luck saying whoever's your best mate you think, or you meant to be like a shared thing, if things are desperate, his family desperate, he'll take you, your family, and he'll bury you somewhere 20 foot under just to take what you have. So to me, guys, the community, I would leave this is down to the personal choice. And yes, of course, guys, I mean, you might think, well, actually, if the community, if there's a doctor there, you can kind of help each other. I totally understand, but I'm, like, as I said before, with the books and learning and training, is learn the basic medicine, basic first aid, things that you can help yourself without relying on even the prepping community that might be forming around you. This is totally my thing. I said probably controversial, might upset a few people, but this is my opinion. I don't suggest what you do, but I kind of put this on my list because I think it's a dangerous thing, and a dangerous place to be is to create the community around you that people know that what you do and you know what they do in this Shtf situation. That's that, guys. So I do hope some of you find this helpful, especially for the new guys that are subbing out for obviously the prepping and things, because I know it is super overwhelming, and a lot of this, when I just kind of started heavy prepping, if that makes sense, it is somewhat confusing. It takes you a while to get your head round to how to do it, what to do, and where to seek the priority in what you do. And I think if at the time, if I found somebody who could have sort of guided me through and put my mind at rest a little bit to say what's actually a priority or not, so I didn't feel so confused, it probably wouldn't be so bad. So hopefully some of you will find this somewhat helpful. If you do, maybe thumbs up, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye.